Friday night college gymnastics. Tonight, it's a tri-meet featuring all Eagle teams. The North Carolina Tar Heels welcome the Pittsburgh Panthers and Towson Tigers here to Carmichael Arena. Alongside Christina Chauvenet, my name is Matt Kraus. Thank you so much for being with us on this Friday evening. Well, Christina, these are three teams that are all in very similar spots because they're all young teams on the rise.
That's absolutely right. All three teams are coming off of their season high. Now, it is early in the season, but all three teams are coming off of really strong finishes last week. UNC so far has had the highest score of them, the only team in this meet to break into the 196s. But this is a really important meet for both Pittsburgh and Towson to get that good road score.
So let's break down this meet team by team. We'll begin with the host, the Tar Heels of North Carolina. Christina, you alluded to it. They posted their best score last week since March of 2018, and they are 25th in this week's Road to Nationals rankings.
Absolutely. So keep in mind when we're talking about qualifying for postseason, we're talking about those top 36 teams. Now, the qualification of postseason is done based on the national qualifying score. National qualifying score is going to need to be up and above 196 for teams to qualify. So UNC breaking that 196 threshold, I think that's a really strong place to be at this point in the season. You know, they're led by their first season head coach, Dana Durante, and she has really high ambitions for this team.
196.425 was the team score last week for Carolina in a quad meet. They finished second of four teams behind only Missouri here in Carmichael Arena. Checking in 38th in the rankings this week, the Towson Tigers.
And I had the pleasure of commentating Towson last week at NC State. I thought they looked really good. The only challenge for Towson last week was their beam rotation. It was a little jittery. They are starting on beam this week, so that's going to be a really key rotation for them to get the meet off to a good start. Again, they almost broke the 195 threshold last week. 194.975. They're looking to break into that 195 this week.
Jay Ramirez, head coach of the Towson Tigers at his alma mater. Now on to Pitt. They are ranked 42nd in this week's rankings, coming off of a meet last week against Texas Women's on the road. The Panthers, they are quite literally the definition of a young team. Two of their all-around competitors, both freshmen, and Samantha Snyder is really building for the future in the Steel City.
They had a difficult opening meet, so they've only had two meets so far this season. Their opening meet, they really struggled on bars and beam, had to count some falls, 192.9. That was not where they wanted to be. And when we talked to Coach Snyder, she was really honest about that. She said we had to go back in the gym, we had to really focus. They came out against Texas Women's, 195.575. That's a huge improvement, and they set the program record on beam.
And Coach Snyder has said that because they set the program record on beam, she's going to get a tattoo. More on that later. So here we are, Carmichael Arena tonight. North Carolina, Pitt, and Towson, three Eagle teams. And Christina, not only is this a terrific showcase for this sport, first season for Dana Durante as the head coach here in Chapel Hill, another great crowd on this Friday night, but it is diversity, equity, and inclusion night here at Carmichael Arena. And Coach Durante spoke with us about how important it was for her team to be able to participate in an event like this.
Absolutely, and I want to underscore the importance of the diversity, equity, and inclusion meet and what it means for representation. So last year, Pittsburgh's Kylie Robotin came out as bisexual following the Pittsburgh Pride meet. She's competing here tonight. There are more out gymnasts competing in NCAA gymnastics than ever before, and that representation is so important for the next generation of young gymnasts. I would encourage viewers to go listen to the Half In, Half Out podcast, which is an LGBTQ-focused podcast. It's excellent. Kylie was interviewed on that podcast last year, and Dana talked about all of her gymnasts, you know, competing for these different causes, fighting for racial justice, gender equity, LGBTQ issues. There's a video on the Jumbotron of these gymnasts talking about these critical issues that are important to them. I think it's great to see these gymnasts and teams using their platform for a cause.
And, you know, when a video like that is made and shown on the Jumbotron prior to the meet, it puts a face to the causes.
Absolutely.
Because it's these gymnasts, you know, showing off what they believe in and why they compete. And I thought that was a special moment.
Absolutely, and we have to shout out Drew Aldridge, who is one of the seniors on the UNC team, had an injury prior to season, is not competing this season, but Dana told us that she was really one of the ones on the team that's been driving those diversity, equity, and inclusion conversations and has been a real leader.
So the team's going through their final warm-ups here at Carmichael Arena. You see another good crowd here on this Friday evening. North Carolina, as the home team, will compete in the Olympic rotation tonight. That means that the Tar Heels will open things up on vault. Pitt's first rotation is on bars. Towson's first rotation is on beam. And floor will be the first rotation utilized in the second rotation of the night.
And yeah, contrary to a dual meet, these, and there you see Lali Dekanoitsa sticking her 1.5 in warm-up, so we'll see if she can replicate that there. But in these tri-meets, they are going straight through. So these gymnasts are not alternating on different apparatus. Each apparatus is gonna go competing straight through, so we're gonna bring you all that action tonight.
We're gonna bust out the tri-box.
That's right, that's absolutely right.
You will not miss an event tonight. As we said, and you see there on your screen, in this first rotation, Carolina on vaults, Pitt on bars, and Towson on beam. And Christine, you alluded to it. Towson's roughest rotation last week was the beam, and they get to start out on beam. How do you think that could be both a benefit or a hindrance for the Tigers tonight?
Yeah, so a lot of it is going to be how I watched them in warm-ups, they looked really good. And for a lot of teams, beam is that event for a lot of teams that's kind of like it's good to get it over with. So that might be a really good thing for them. Coming from floor, going to beam, that can be tricky because you have to channel your energy. But I think that this is going to be a good place for them to start.
Just about set here on this Friday evening. So glad you're with us. Great energy and atmosphere here in Carmichael Arena. Tangible growth of this program in the first season under Dana Durante. And she said that she inherited a great product here in the Carolina Gymnastics program, both in terms of fan interests and the actual program she was coaching, but just how she's been able to increase interest and draw crowds here to Carmichael has been pretty special.
Absolutely. Again, building off that program, Derek Galvin, longtime UNC gymnastics coach, retired a couple of years ago. Dana is the head coach. College fans may remember her from her time at the University of Georgia, but she's brought a great energy to UNC Gymnastics.
So you see the tri-box there on your screen. Top left is the vault. That'll be the Tar Heels. On the right side of your screen, the bars for Pitt, and then the beam for Towson at the bottom of your screen.
And that was Emery Summy on vault, starting off with a Yurchenko full. Really nice job there.
Emery Summy, senior from High Point, North Carolina. Meanwhile, over on bars for Pitt, it is Katie Chamberlain.
And moving really nicely for this routine, what we're going to want to look for on bars is for the athletes to hit handstands. Oh, that really difficult full twisting double back. Remember, in college gymnastics, skills are rated from A to E, E being the most difficult. That's an E dismount.
Meanwhile, over on beam, Towson beginning their competition. Lauren Bolin getting things started for the Tigers.
And you talk about how important a lead off is. I mean, beam, it's more important than anywhere. Doing that cat leap into the, and good fight there. I really liked how she hung on to that front toss. That full turn, one of the requirements on beam. And that leap series, also a requirement on beam. On all the other three events besides vault, gymnasts have to perform a series of requirements to, nice dismount there, good start for Towson. They have to perform a series of requirements to get their start value up to a 10.
Keeping an eye on the vault, this is Kate Green for North Carolina. Emery Summy with a 9.75.
Oh, and she just didn't get the block off the table. We really want to see the athletes rise off that table so that they can, the moniker is flip then twist, and didn't do that, came in short.
How do you adjust that?
Well, a lot of it will be doing what we call uphill drills. So they'll go back to the gym, they'll do drills onto these elevated mats to make sure that the gymnasts are thinking about going up before out and before they twist. Oh, no, go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to say, getting set to go on bars for Pitt, it's Kaylee Gillings. .7 for Katie Chamberlain on bars for Pitt.
And I really like her toe point on bars. That extension is really critical. As I was saying, what we're going to be looking for on bars is for the athletes to hit those handstands, maintain nice swing throughout. That means the swing shouldn't seem labored.
Vaulting for the Tar Heels, Corey Shinohara. Kate Green scores a 9.3.
And that's the score that Carolina's going to want to drop. Remember, in college gymnastics, 6 athletes up, 5 count. So nice recovery from Corey. She did have some control issues on the landing. And of course, when you're talking about those landings, the deduction is going to be proportionate to the size of the step or the hop.
Shinohara, sophomore from Wilmington, Massachusetts.
And really nice routine from Kaylee Gillings there on bars. I've just loved her extension. You know, we're going to be on bars and beam and floor. We're going to be looking for those gymnasts to keep that really nice extension, pointed toes through all their elements. Of course, we're looking on that for that on vault, but on bars it can be really difficult, particularly in some of those transitions from high to low bar, and she did a great job.
So a strong start for Pitt. I know you like the Panthers-Leo game, though.
Well, that's true. You know, leotard fashion, it's pretty good tonight. And I got to say, I love the UNC leotard as well. They call this their Tin Man Leo, but the Pitt's a classic as well.
Julia Noer, standout freshman, vaulting for Carolina.
And, you know, she struggled a little bit last week. She's another high-profile recruit, 3-star recruit, as rated by College Gym News. Struggled a little bit last week, and Coach Durante said they really rested her this week, tried to get her energy up for this weekend. She looked good there, had a little bit of control issues on the landing, but really nice in the air.
By the way, a 9.55 on bars for Kaylee Gillings of Pitt. Going back to that concept of Noer and resting her, you know, she's a true freshman. This is her first go-round in college gymnastics, and the simple uptick in number of events and time that you're competing from, say, her competition level in Super 10, it's really different.
Absolutely. And such a cool dismount. I'll struggle with the control on that, but I like the risk she took on that Arabian dismount.
What could she have adjusted there?
You know, I think that some of the, and we're getting Lali Dekanoitsa coming up here on vault. Wow, huge 1.5 for Lali Dekanoitsa. And that's one of those 10.0 start values. We are going to be talking about that a lot on vault. And Towson moving really nicely through this beam routine.
Back to the concept of a start value on the vaults. For those that might be new to gymnastics, what does that mean?
The start value is the maximum score that you can get if you perform your routine without deduction. So on vault, the start values are set. You have a value for the specific vault because it's only one skill. On the other events, you have to build up your start value through fulfilling the series of requirements and then doing what we call elements for bonus points, those difficult D and E elements, and doing elements in combination.
Jay Weil vaulting for the Tar Heels. Catching up on a couple of scores from the vault, by the way. Corey Shinohara, 9.675. Julia Noer, 9.750.
And yeah, Jay performs that front handspring pike. That's rated out of a 9.9, so that means that's the maximum that she can get for that vault. Most of the vaults we're going to see tonight are going to start out at 9.95. That vault that Lali did is one of the only 10.0 starts we're going to see tonight. That routine, or that vault from Jay, is an exhibition though, so though it is scored, it will not count towards the team score.
Jordan Ewing on bars for Pitt at the moment.
And really nice piked Jaeger there. That piked Jaeger is rated an E element as opposed to the straddle Jaeger, which is rated a D. Oh, and just, that's where I'm talking about. Oh, and she just lost control of her dismount there. That's where I'm talking about, was a little labored on the dismount. And Sophie Silverstein there in exhibition for the Tar Heels. And just wasn't ready for that landing. She was performing that Yurchenko half.
Catching up on scores from bars, Aaron Hutchison of Pitt, 9.525. Meanwhile, over on beam for Towson. Seems like might have some sort of a technical difficulty down there. We have only had one score come in from Lauren Bolin.
And I gotta say, I feel like the bar scoring is a little tight. I would have gone certainly higher on Kaylee Gillings' routine, probably a 10th higher.
Gillings with the 9.55 after Chamberlain opened with a 9.7 for the Panthers. ready to go on bars.
And I love that combination on beam, that layout step out. Towson's looking a lot more confident than I saw them last weekend at NC State. And there's that acrobatic series, one of those requirements, the aerial to back handspring. Nice dismount, little foot adjustment on the landing. So that'll probably be a half a 10.
Scores from beam so far: Lauren Bolin a 9.625, Lauren Keener a 9.825.
Yeah, and that was Jenna Wheats that we just saw. And I think that Towson can be, really happy with how they've performed so far. I think if they can get through these next 3 routines, they're going to be feeling good moving to floor.
Keep an eye on the top right side of your screen. Ready to go on bars for Pitt. This is Hallie Copperwheat, standout freshman from England, who's already been named an Eagle Rookie of the Week.
And I love her work on bars. Look at the height she gets. Oh, caught a little bit close, but gets great height on that Jaeger. Nice handstand on that low bar. The athletes are required to transition twice between bars. And maybe just a little bit shy on that final handstand, gearing up for her dismount here. Wow, sticks that dismount. Good for her.
Impressive routine there from Copperwheat. Catching up with some scores from vaults. Dekanoitza, 9.9, and Jay Weil, a 9.6.
I mean, Lolly Dekanoitz has been doing that 1.5 for a couple years in club, in level 10. She just has that vault so dialed in.
And over on bars, 9.2 for Jordan Ewing. Not a huge surprise given the struggles on the dismount, correct?
Absolutely. And love that punch front from stand, really cool on beam. I really like Grace's work on beam. She shows nice extension. That's that acrobatic series, back handspring layout, step out.
It's Grace Valancourt on beam for Towson.
And that really difficult switch combination. That's difficult because you want to maintain the 180-degree split through both of those elements. And sticks that landing, wow. Definitely Towson's strongest beam routine so far.
Valancourt, sophomore from Hudson, New Hampshire. Worth noting, one of Towson's competitors that we've already seen on the beam, Lauren Keener, hails from Apex, North Carolina, just down the road here from Chapel Hill. And the 9.825 that she posted, a career high for her young career, just a freshman. Over on bars, the other standout freshman for Pitt, Sydney Washington.
And that was a challenging routine from her. Definitely had some form struggles throughout. You saw her lose her form on her pack salto, that transition to low bar. But what I like about that bar routine is that she fought through it and she kept it going through the dismount. So, some things to clean up there, but really strong fight from her.
We'll have an exhibition over on bars. Trinity Macy for Pitt.
And yeah, as a reminder, those exhibition routines are scored just like the main lineup routines, but they do not count towards the team score. So it's an opportunity for those athletes that are pushing towards getting in the lineup to get their routine out there.
Nothing better than practice under the bright lights, right?
Absolutely. And such a cool combination, that aerial from Clara Hong. She is one of the really bright freshmen at Towson. Look at the extension in that jump series. again, you're going to want to see those athletes showing off that 180-degree split, just like she did there. A little bit slow into that connection, though, and that's one of the areas that's one of the areas that gymnasts build up their difficulty from. So if the judges determine she did not connect that, she will lose points off of her start value. I think they'll probably give it to her, but that is an area we're going to be talking about tonight. Hop on that landing, but just really clean work from her.
Clara Hong, the only Tiger that's expected to compete in all-around tonight. This is Trinity Macy with their exhibition on bars.
And did that really difficult pike Jaeger. Shy on that last handstand. That last handstand is really a test of endurance. Oh, and held on to that. You know, I thought she might have released the bar a little bit early, but she held on to that dismount.
Score coming in on bars, it was a 9.625 for Sydney Washington. Emerson Hurst getting set on the beam for Towson.
And Emerson is such a beautiful gymnast on this event. Beam is her specialty. She shows off those nice lines, those 180-degree splits. She hasn't quite hit her stride this season as we have seen from her in previous seasons, but she's great to watch on this event.
Senior from St. Augustine, Florida.
And she was the Eagle co-champion on this event last season with Elizabeth Colton and Hallie Thompson.
You'll see Colton compete for the Tar Heels a little bit later.
And there's that full turn. Gearing up for her acrobatic series here. And a really nice job. Her front foot was just a little bit off, but she's such a seasoned competitor. She managed to correct it pretty seamlessly, and that's a really important skill on beam. Here's that switch. Wow, really strong work on those split positions. And her toe point, I mean, it's magnificent.
Got several scores that have come in on beam. Jenna Wheats a 9.875, Valancourt a 9.825, and a matching 9.825 for Clara Hong. So some strong scores for Towson.
Absolutely. This has been the strongest I've seen them on beam this season, and really, they've been aggressive, which I didn't see last week at NC State. Oh, doesn't quite get that landing, but you know what? Really nice job from Emerson. You can see what I'm talking about. She's just so graceful on beam, has that really nice toe point. Towson is going to be ecstatic moving to floor.
So 48.975 on beam for Towson, 48.675 on vault for Carolina, and on bars of 48.175 for Pitt. Like you said, Christina, ecstatic for Towson, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, they've got beam out of the way. They can take that energy, go to floor. It's really good to have that adrenaline moving to floor. They've set themselves up for a great meet. And getting set for the exhibition routine here on beam with Felicia Poblete.
Poblete, the last Tiger to compete on beam. As we said, it's an exhibition. It will be scored, but does not count toward the team score. Poblete, freshman from Medford, New Jersey.
And she does that really difficult aerial series. The back handspring layout step out, which we saw from several of the Towson athletes, is the most common, but really difficult because of the change of direction doing those aerials back to back. And again, a difficult split full, getting that rotation all the way around. Clean jumps there as well. Does that gainer pike that we'll see from a couple other gymnasts. You know, the series didn't go her way, but great for her to get a routine out there in this big arena.
And that's the beauty of an exhibition routine like that,
Absolutely. Right? And, you know, she was going for it. She, you know, she went for that difficulty, and I really appreciate that.
Overall takeaways from the meet so far?
You know, I think that Carolina, I've seen them have cleaner landings on vault. 48.675, that's an okay start for them. It's not great. They do need to get, you know, when you take those larger bounding steps, that can get into the 2/10 deduction ranges. And of course, we saw Kate Green with that, you know, came pretty crunched in on her Yurchenko full. Towson, lights out on beam. They could not have asked for a better start. Really, really strong. Pittsburgh, they had a lot of form issues in their routines. Although they didn't have to count any falls, I do feel like they were a little underscored, though. To be honest, I feel like their team total should probably be about 0.3 more. So we'll see how that goes when the other teams go to to bars.
So we'll step aside here for a quick moment and return with the second rotation here from Carmichael Arena. Stay with us, Eagle Gymnastics, try me. So Jamie Shearer competing on bars, sophomore from Apex.
And excuse us, that was the warm up there. And, you know, as we're getting started started here and going through these warm-ups, Pitt going to going to Beam, where they broke that program record last week. This is going to be a really interesting test because I think sometimes when teams have that program record, that's a really exciting moment from them. They're on that high. There's pressure on them to continue that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they respond to that.
Thought it was really interesting when we talked to Samantha Snyder, the head coach of the Panthers this week. She talked about how in training they have a word of the week. Going into their meet last week against Texas Women's, it was learning. And you talked about it, Christina, how tough that first meet this season was for Pitt. So it was a learning experience to get back into training and get ready to compete. They go out, they break the program record on beam. Now a chance to compete again. So we asked her, what's the word of the week this week? She said, excited.
Yeah, and I thought that was really great. She really does want to take this momentum and build on it, and I love that ambition. All of these teams here are wanting to qualify for postseason. They want to win Eagle championships. So really, as we move into the middle part of the season, remember, when you're talking about qualifying, the national qualifying score, the way that it works is teams count 6 scores. You take your top 3 away scores, then your next highest 3, whether they are home or away. So the critical thing to remember is you have to count 3 road scores. So this is really going to be important for Pitt and Towson to get these good road scores that they can count moving forward. For UNC, they've had their highest scores at home this season, so really the pressure is going to be on them when they go to compete at Alabama to get that really good road score. Of course, it's great for them to get another 196. That'll build confidence, but that's what we're looking for as we talk about moving to the postseason, because records do not count in gymnastics in terms of qualifying for that.
And that beam score for Pitt last week of 49-2.
Yeah, and if you're talking about the top teams in the country are scoring 49-4, 49-5 on beam, so really not that far off of that mark.
Christina, you touched on it there. North Carolina heading to Alabama for their next meet after this. And obviously gymnastics, unlike stick and ball sports, you're not competing head-to-head against the opposing team. So it's not really scheduling tougher, but still, Dana Durante has said she wants to expose this program to as many people as possible across the gymnastics world. So as a result, she's like, yeah, why not go to Alabama? Why not go to Georgia? Why not welcome Auburn and Missouri taking on these SEC opponents?
Yeah, and I think that's great for the program. It's also preparing them for the postseason, because when you go to regionals, they're going to be at these regional sites. There's going to be a lot of fans there. It's going to be a very electric environment. So it's good for these athletes to get some experience competing in that environment. That being said, their home opener was against Auburn and Bowling Green, and there was a huge crowd here. They broke the attendance record. So Carolina does have some exposure to it, but that being said, going to compete at Alabama is a whole nother ball. It's not a ball game, as you said. It's a gymnastics meet, but it's a whole nother world.
Over 4,000 fans here in Carmichael. And the home opener back on January 7th. The fact that Suni Lee came and visited with Auburn, that's got to help.
Absolutely, and we talk about there has never been more talent in NCAA gymnastics. I firmly believe that. Suni is competing, of course, that's great, but we also have lots of Olympians, Olympic medalists competing on different teams around the country, in addition to those level 10 standouts like Lali Dekanoitsa. And now we're getting started with Jamie Shearer. Sorry for the false alarm, folks.
Shearer, sophomore from Apex.
And really nice Jaeger. I think that's the best I've seen her do this season. Shy on that bail to handstand, though.
Shearer a 9.7 last week in the quad meet here at Carmichael.
And, just didn't quite stick that landing, but nice start for Carolina. That's what you want for your leadoff. You see her given high fives there by Amelia Huntley. She is the assistant coach at UNC. College fans will remember her from her time at Florida, and she's just been such a great addition to this program.
Coming in as an assistant, first season under Dana Durante, the first-year head coach of the Tar Heels. Marie Dinnick, the other assistant for Carolina, was the interim head coach last year in 2021. first time tonight we see the floor exercise, and Lauren Bolin leading things off for Towson there. Meanwhile, over on beam, it's Katie Chamberlain for Pitt. What do you have your eye on here, Christina?
Well, you know, on floor, we're going to be talking about some of those same elements that we did on beam. That split, just on beam there, she was a little shy of that 180 degrees. So when these athletes perform dance elements on floor, that's what we're going to be looking for. And chest up on landing, she did a good job there. So when they do these tumbling passes, we want to see them take controlled lunges out of them and have that really nice chest position on landing.
Bolin, a junior from Point of Rocks, Maryland. She's the lone Maryland native on this Towson roster. Scores in on bars, a 9.725 for Jamie Shearer. So up slightly from the 9.7 that she scored last week.
And a really nice last pass there from Bolin.
Over on bars now, Sophie Silverstein, junior from Longmont, Colorado for Carolina.
And Dana Durante told me how proud she is of Sophie Silverstein working her way into the lineup. Sticks that dismount, Great job there. She's one of those athletes that's been really working hard in the gym, trying to push into lineups, and was probably the cleanest I've seen her there on that. Has struggled with that release combination in the past, but handled it really well there.
What do you think she's done to improve upon that?
Well, you know, I think, first of all, working with a technician like Amelia Huntley, I cannot say enough good things about what Amelia Huntley has done with this bars team. She's clearly working on their endurance. That's a big factor. And some of it is a mental game, not thinking ahead, staying skill by skill. And I think that she really showed there.
Julia Noer will be next for Carolina. One of the two freshmen that's competing all around for the Tar Heels this year. Noer out of Louisiana. We've mentioned the name Lolly Decanoids a whole lot tonight. Kaylee Cleveland, freshman from Colorado Springs, on beam right now for Pitt. What are you seeing?
Well, really nice. And was fighting to save that. Couldn't hang on to it. And a little bit of struggle on that Ginger as well from Julia Noer. But she hangs on. Nice handstand on the low bar. And nice final handstand there as she gears up for her dismount. She does that full twisting double back, sticks it. Good for her.
We have a score in on floor, 9.775 for Lauren Bolin. Now Jenna Wheats out there for Towson.
And stuck dismount. Too bad about that fall.
How do you mentally continue your routine in that circumstance?
Well, you know, they're trained for this. They know that you don't know what's going to happen later in the lineup, so they can only drop one score. So the coaches really work with the athletes to put the mistake behind them, move on to the next skill. And that's an area just a little chest down on that double back. So that will be a deduction, probably about a 10th.
Jenna Wheats, they're on floor for Towson. Season best 9.7 last week for Wheats. First beam score in for Pitt, it's a 9.775 for Katie Chamberlain. Kylie Robotin will be the next competitor for the Panthers. Receiving final words of instruction from Samantha Snyder, her head coach.
And this is a really critical routine because it's important to get the team back on track after a fall. One of the things that we talked about with Coach Schneider as well was, you know, gymnastics, it's a transition for these athletes. This is a team sport now. When you are in club, and by club, that's what we refer to as the high school levels, it's a much more individual sport. But they always want their athletes to be able to pick up for the ones that have a mistake.
Lolly Dekanoidze taking to the bars for the Tar Heels. A couple of scores to get you caught up on the bars. Silverstein a 9.725, Julia Noer a 9.8.
And Lolly's working really nicely through this routine. Just a little step on her double layout, but Lolly Dekanoidze is just having a great season in college gymnastics.
By the way, the 9.8 for Noer, career high, topping her 9.775 from the first quad of the year. Or rather, that was supposed to be a quad, wound up being a tri-meet, unfortunately, due to COVID protocols.
And nice beam from Kylie here. Just has her jump series that straddle three-quarter.
That unfortunate fall costing Cleveland a 9-1.
And check this out, love that. That's the Liukin, named after 2008 all-around champion, Olympic all-around champion, Nastia Liukin.
Turned television analyst.
Exactly.
So we just put you in the company of Nastia.
My gymnastics was never that good, but that was a great routine.
Good dismount there for Rabatin. Now we await the score. It's a 9.825, by the way, for Dekanoidze for her routine on bars.
And a lovely Rudy to close for Grace Valancourt's routine there.
$9.725 for Wheats a moment ago on floor. Isabel Schaefer on bars for the Tar Heels.
Oh, and almost went over on that handstand. Did well to control it. Oh, and has that hop back on the dismount. You know, I think she could have stuck that. Just needed to sink into it a bit more, but overall strong routine.
Sydney Washington getting set on beam for Pitt. Meanwhile, Amanda Petticelli getting ready to go for Towson.
And this is Amanda's floor debut, so really exciting time for her to be able to show off her floor routine.
Sophomore from Mercier, Quebec, Canada.
And you know, I gotta say, we've got a Canadian, we've got an English gymnast competing. There's more international gymnasts in NCAA gymnastics, I think, than ever before. I think that's so exciting. I love seeing international talent come to college.
Why do you think that is, that there's more than ever?
You know, I think just the rise of interest in college gymnastics in general, and I think that as athletes discovered that there was besides making the Olympics, there was an alternative thing to do to cap off your career. So we're seeing more of those. You know, it started with just a couple, and then as more and more English and Canadian gymnasts started coming, you know, they spread the word about how great college gymnastics was to other gymnasts.
So Sydney Washington taking to the beam for Pitt.
And that difficult back handspring layout to 2 feet. Much more difficult to land that layout on 2 feet compared to the layout step out. And Elizabeth Colton on bars. This is a treat.
Colton, the All-American. Arguably the top returner for the Tar Heels this season. Junior from nearby Durham.
And I love that beam work. Nice dismount for Elizabeth Colton. I love the beam work from Sydney Washington here.
What's impressing you about it?
You know, I just like, she's really high on releve. That means high up on her toes. I enjoy that work. She does that down on the beam work as well, which is really special. Yeah, Pitt not really hanging on to these beam dismounts, but another strong routine.
Rabatin matching Chamberlain for the highest beam score for Pitt so far, 9.775.
Oh, and just stayed in there. Thought she was going to go out, but I did not see a flag go up. If you do step out of bounds, it's a mandatory 10th deduction. Wow, good for her. And that was a big routine. Coming off a mistake from Grace Valancourt, had that 9.475. So they do want to drop that, and what a great floor debut.
Amanda Petticelli with her floor debut. Couple of bars, scores to get you caught up on. Isabel Schaefer, a 9.775. Elizabeth Colton, a 9.85. So it's Colton that leads the way for the Tar Heels on bars. 3 scores of 9.8 or better on bars for Carolina, that rotation.
Yeah, and I think they can be really happy with that rotation. Did not start the way that they wanted to on vault. Were much more controlled on bars. So now their challenge, they had a great beam rotation last week. So now their challenge is going to be to move to beam and keep that momentum going.
48.975 in total for the Tar Heels.
So keep in mind, we're really looking as teams, these teams want to break into that 196. They were able to do, UNC was able to do that, the only team here that has done that so far this season. UNC posted the highest score in the Eagle so far this season last week with that 196.475, and so that is pacing on about a 49 per event. So that's what we're really going to be looking for if these teams want to break into that 196 range.
Yeah, the Tar Heels a little bit below that so far with the 48.675 and the 48.975. Clara Hong getting set to perform her floor exercise routine here for Towson.
And she's going to bring some of those same lines that I talked about on beam, that extension, the toe point, to floor. Love watching her on floor. She's going to do, I believe, Towson's only E-pass. She opens with this very difficult front double full. Does have a little bit of a large lunge out of it, but so pretty in the air. And showing off those split positions, gorgeous.
Freshman out of Sugar Land, Texas.
And I really like her style on floor too. What I like about the Towson lineup is there are very different styles of floor routines within the rotation. Nice whip half to front full there. Clara Hong, such a bright future in college gymnastics. She is one to watch.
And it seems like that's the theme of this entire tri-meet tonight. 3 very young teams, all in similar spots in their respective program trajectories.
Absolutely, and I love to see these athletes transitioning to college and succeeding and making that it's not an easy transition.
This is Lauren Beckwith on beam for Pitt after a little bit of a delay there. Score is in for Sydney Washington, a 9.325 for Washington. Perhaps some deductions on that dismount for Washington?
Yeah, and she did have some problems in other places in the routine. Oh, nice fight there. And this is a really critical place in the rotation. Because they are already going to have to count some of those lower scores. She's working through it.
You know at the 9-1 there that the 9-3-2-5 is going to have to count for Pitt.
Aerial full, just a little bit shy. You know, I think she was being a little tentative through that routine, just knowing that they had those low scores before her, but, you know, she handled that pressure.
Let's get you caught up on floor scores. Have 3 of them for you. Grace Valancourt a 9.475, Amanda Petticelli a 9.525, and Clara Hong, the highest score of the night on floor for Towson. No surprise for that fact, 9.825 for her. Amy Stewart now competing for the Tigers, junior from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Stewart last week a 9.85.
Wow, nails that double back. Great routine there. You know, that ending with those double salto passes, very difficult because of the endurance, and athletes do actually get a 10th of bonus for ending with a double salto pass. And just looking over at the judges table, I did see for Sydney Washington, they had flashed a 9.7 start value. That tells me that they probably did not give her credit for her dance connection, and that knocked her start value down. So viewers might be thinking, that score seems really low, but that's those connections we're talking about. They have to build those to start from a 10.0.
And that's what you were wondering about.
Exactly.
Beam score in for Lauren Beckwith. Beckwith receives a 9.6. So here's Hallie Copperwheat on beam. So far, it's a 47.575 for Pitt. They can drop the 9-1 from Cleveland's, assuming that Copperwheat scores better than that.
And she is capable of a big number here on beam. Look at the confidence. That's what I like about her. A lot of gymnasts in this position will be very tentative. She is going for broke here. She is taking everything to the extreme. Love it. And does that aerial to beat jump there. And when we talked to Coach Snyder about Hallie, she could not say enough good things about her. She just really believed in what a bright future she has in college gymnastics, and I agree with her. You know, doesn't quite stick that landing, but that was a huge routine. That is going to be one of those scores. It's probably going to score in the 9.8 range. They're going to be able to drop that 9.1 that they're counting now. This is not what Pitt wanted for this beam rotation. You know, there was a fall in the lineup. There were some tentative places. We saw Sydney Washington lose that dance connection, but really good for them to cap it off with a strong routine.
It won't be the program beam record that they achieved last week in Denton, Texas.
Can't get the program record every week.
Because eventually you're going to get 5 perfect 10s.
Exactly. And I don't think anyone's ever done that, so.
Nope. We have an exhibition routine on floor. It's Nikki Borkowski of Towson. She's a senior from Maumee, Ohio.
And really nice double back to open there. Really nice combination pass. She does the front full to the front layout. double pike, but overall, really nice routine. I think Towson can be really happy with how they did on floor.
Quick update on Beam's score, 9-8 for Copper Wheat. That becomes the highest score individually for Pitt. The Panthers cap off the rotation with a 48-275 there on Beam. As for Carolina, their score on bars, the 48-975 that we mentioned. And for Towson, Stewart's receives a 9.825. So it's a 48.675 for Towson on floor. The 48.925 on bars for Carolina is the best score of the rotation. And after 2 rotations, it's an advantage for the Towson Tigers. 97.825 for Towson, 97.650 for Carolina, Pitt 96.450. Christina, 2 rotations down. Your thoughts so far?
You know, I think each team has had some areas where they've really excelled, and each team has had some areas where they could have done better. You know, Towson coming off that absolute killer beam rotation. At Grace Valancourt, who usually is a really strong competitor for them on floor, had some struggles at 9.475. For Pitt, you know, they, again, didn't have the performance they did last week, but they really are able to carry that momentum from Haley Copperweed. I mean, we are going to continue to talk about what a contribution she's going to make to this Pittsburgh team. And UNC moving to beam, which is a really strong event for them, they did a really nice job on bars.
So 2 rotations down. We will step aside for a couple of moments and return with rotation number 3. Stay with us from Carmichael Arena.
For updates, you can follow the team on Twitter at Instagram at UNC Gymnastics. concludes the 4-minute touch period. Judges, please take control of your events.
We welcome you back to Carmichael Arena alongside Christina Chauvenet. My name is Matt Kraus. Thanks for being with us for this Eagle Tri-Meet tonight. The host, North Carolina Tar Heels, welcoming Towson and Pitt here to Carmichael tonight. Towson with the team lead with a 97.825 through 2 rotations. Carolina a 97.650, Pitt a 96.450. So we head to the 3rd rotation of the evening. Tar Heels will be on beam, Pitt on floor, and Towson on vaults. What do you have your eye on this particular rotation, Christina?
Well, and we're getting started here with Emery Summy on beam. And these leadoff routines, again, so important. Emery's gearing up for her series here. Handspring layout, step out. Nice job there.
Meanwhile, on vault for Towson, Jenna Wheats starts things off for the Tigers.
And a strong Yurchenko full there.
Up first on floor for Pitt will be Olivia Miller.
And this meet really tight between UNC and Towson. Pitt coming off that tough beam rotation, so there's a lot of pressure on them to turn around that momentum.
Summy a 9.85 on beam last week in Carolina's quad meet.
And she is in this leadoff position because she is so consistent for them. Little slow into that connection, but nice landing.
So you see Miller out there on the floor for Pitt.
Summy sticks that landing. Nice double back. Does not control that landing, though. That's one of those areas, if you see that front foot lift, that will be a deduction.
Nikki Borkowski vaulting for Towson.
A nice vault, but better than what I saw her do last week at NC State. Good middle pass on floor as well.
Miller, a strong leadoff on floor for Pitt. She's scored a 9.825 and a 9.8 in her 2 meets so far this season.
And that looked really good. Again, another athlete ending with that double salto. No endurance problems for her there whatsoever.
Get you caught up on a couple of scores. On vaults, Jenna Wheats a 9.775 for Towson. Nikki Borkowski a 9.75.
And all these vaults from the Towson lineup, I believe, are going to be that 9.95 start, that Yurchenko full.
Mia Davis next.
Huge power on that Yurchenko full. Remember, vault is about the landings, but it's also about the dynamics, the height, the distance, and she just shot up off that table.
Davis, another freshman. What have we said about young teams tonight?
And too bad on that series for Jamie Shearer on beam. Her hips were just way off center, and really on beam, once your hips and your shoulders get off center, it becomes very difficult to save the element.
There's a 9.825 for Emery Summy. Now Jamie Shearer. Elise Tisler for Towson.
And a nice vault. Not quite as much height off the table as Mia Davis got, but still strong vault, controlled the landing well.
Davis a 9.825, best score of the night on vault for Towson so far.
And yeah, I mean, for Davis, really just the landing to take. She has so much power.
On floor now, Lauren Beckwith for Pitt.
starts with a nice high double back.
Miller's score was a 9.775, her lowest of the season. Ready to vault for Towson, Lauren Bolin.
And just hangs on to that stick. Little low chest position on landing. Oh, and hangs on to that pass on floor. I thought she was going to go out of bounds, but really nice spatial awareness.
.9825 for Elise Tisler. A previous vault there for Towson. Now we wait Boland's score. What'd you see there from Beckwith?
Yeah, you know, she had really nice landings on her tumbling passes. That chest up, and as I mentioned, that middle pass, I thought that she was going to go out of bounds. That really shows me an experienced competitor because she was able to control that landing.
Camille Vidoff.
An absolutely huge Yurchenko full there.
Phoenix, Arizona junior for the Towson Tigers.
And she's actually capable of doing a 1.5, that 10.0 start value. She actually made history for Towson. The first gymnast in Towson history to compete that Yurchenko 1.5. Not quite ready for it this season, but you can see that she has room to upgrade because she finishes her twist so far before she hits the ground. And so I asked Coach Jay Ramirez about that, asked if we would see it tonight because he knew I wanted to see it. Always love to see a good upgrade. He said it's not quite ready yet, but they are going to show it later in the season.
The coaches know what you want to see.
Exactly, that's right. They know I'm interested in the upgrades, but I love to see people doing clean gymnastics, and that full is absolutely gorgeous.
Vidoff a 9.85. It's the highest score of the night for Towson on vaults. So a 49-1 for the Tigers on vault tonight.
And that's a huge score for them. Improves on their score from last week. You know, what I saw from them this week compared to when they were at NC State last week is even though they didn't stick, I think they had one stuck landing. They didn't stick them, but they were taking more control hops. And because those bounding steps backward can get you in the 2 and 3/10 ranges, taking those smaller hops that'll incur a 1/2 tenth or a 1/10 deduction, that can really move your score up quite a lot.
So now 2 of Towson's 3 rotations tonight over 49-1.
Yeah, I mean, they are looking really, really strong. And I think that, you know, they got through that beam rotation, and they didn't have a perfect performance on floor, but came back with a really strong performance on vault. And this is what I love about the Eagle Conference. It's so tight. These teams are neck and neck. It really can be whoever is on that night can win the meet.
And these coaches, as we've talked to them prior to these meets, they've said that, just how competitive the Eagle is and how much more competitive it's gotten through the years.
Absolutely. Keep in mind that in 2023, we will be moving to ACC Gymnastics. So Pitt and UNC will move out of the Eagle and into ACC.
They'll join NC State coming out of the Eagle, and then Clemson will be launching a program. So Carolina, NC State, Pitt, and Clemson will become the inaugural 4 teams in ACC Gymnastics. We talked to Samantha Snyder and Dana Durante about that idea of launching an ACC Gymnastics conference. Both extremely excited about its future.
Absolutely. It's a really exciting moment in the sport.
Jordan Ewing competing on floor right now for Pitt.
And a gigantic double back to open her routine. Love how the control that she had on the landing.
Hannah Nam, the Westchester, Ohio junior, ready in her Tin Man Leo for Carolina on beam.
Yeah, you know, I gotta say, of all the Leos tonight, I like UNC's the best.
Well, you were really excited about Pitt's Leo coming into tonight, so that's high praise for the Tar Heels.
It's a difficult, oh wow, and she goes for that triple series. That's an upgrade for Hannah this year. Really nice. Just a little hesitation on the landing, but finessed it. And really nice routine for Pitt on floor as well. Just huge power on those tumbling passes.
Jamie Shearer's score is in on beam. It's a 9.025. It's one the Tar Heels would like to drop.
And again, that's why this post-fall routine is so critical to get the team back on track. She's done it really well. Hasn't been a perfect routine, but she fought through those smaller mistakes. Just her dismount, she does a 1.5. Wow, sticks that landing. Good for her. And you know, a fun fact about Hannah Nam, she actually trained at Cincinnati Gymnastics, which is the same place that Amelia Huntley did her club training. And Amelia Huntley, the assistant coach at UNC. So they were teammates in club gymnastics. Amelia is a young coach, only graduated a couple of years ago from the University of Florida. And Amelia told me she was just so happy to be reunited with Hannah and was able to see Hannah grow through the club ranks, and just says that's a really special relationship for her.
Another floor score in for Pitt. Lauren Beckwith, a 9.65.
And again with Beckwith, I think that there was a start value issue. I'm not certain, but I think there was a start value issue. I do not think that that ended up starting from a 10.
One of the most highly touted freshmen in all of college gymnastics. Lali Dekanoidze next on beam for the Tar Heels. Meanwhile, Erin Hutchison ready to go for Pitt on the floor.
Another one of those difficult double fulls.
Terrific improvement week 1 to week 2 for Hutchison. 9.525 her first meet, up to a 9.85 last week.
Really nice.
And it speaks to that concept that Coach Snyder told us about how intensive that week of training was leading up to last week's meet against Texas Women's.
Yeah.
Lali Dekanoidze on beam.
And she's worked really nicely through this routine. What I like about Lali's gymnastics is it's very calm, it's very composed. Really nice routine for Lali Dekanoidze and Hutchinson on floor, taking us to Funky Town with that floor routine. Sam Schneider does the choreography for these floor routines, and she is so artistic, so expressive, really works with these gymnasts to really embody the choreography, work on their artistry, their expression, and it really shows.
For those that may not know, a head coach choreographing floor routines, is that a common thing in the sport?
That's a good question. You know, it really depends team to team. So on some teams, the head coach choreographs. On other teams, maybe one of their assistants do. Some bring in an outside choreographer. It really depends on what the strengths within the team are. So for UNC, Amelia Huntley actually choreographs their floor routine. And when I talked to her about the UNC floor routines, she learned from Jeremy Miranda, who does the Florida floor routines, who I think is an exceptional choreographer. Amelia was a volunteer assistant coach at Florida before coming to UNC. So she said that experience working with Jeremy really helped her to think about how to choreograph routines that fit the individual gymnast strengths, and that is so important.
Couple of scores. There are two 9.8s. Hannah Nam on beam for the Tar Heels. Jordan Ewing on floor for the Panthers. So Christina, we talked about that routine after the fall from Shearer, how Nam would be able to deliver for the Tar Heels, and she does with the 9.8.
And she went for that difficult triple series. She can just do the back handspring layout step out. I really liked how aggressive she is. And now we've got Liz Colton on beam. Oh, and just a little bit off on that handspring layout step out. Probably a 1/10 of a deduction there. But just exquisite stretch through that switch side. not a lot of athletes in college are able to do that combination as well as Elizabeth Colton. Makes that connection nicely, that aerial to beat jump.
Standout freshman Hallie Copperwheat set to go on floor, left side of your screen. Towson has long completed the vaults here, 49-1 this rotation for the Tigers. Hutchison also a 9-8 on floor for Pitt.
And just missed the dismount there. It's out of your screen for Liz Colton, but she stuck it.
Decanoidza, by the way, a 9.85. Highest score of the night on beam for the Tar Heels. Second highest for any team. Genowice of Towson, her 9.875. Top score so far on beam. And with only Julia Noer to go, Wheats in good possession for the individual title on beam this evening. That'll be the first apparatus to be completed through 3 rotations.
And Copperwheat struggled a little bit, lost her form on that middle pass on the front layout. Gearing up for her final pass here. And you know, just a little bit under-rotated on that double pike. But remember, you know, she's such an experienced athlete. You know, we talk about these athletes coming in as freshmen, and we tend to think of them as being inexperienced. She's competed for England at the international level, so she is a very seasoned athlete. What I liked about that was she showed a lot of fight through the routine. And again, I think that's really important to make sure that you minimize the deductions. Don't let a small issue turn into a big one. Love this mount from Julia Noer, by the way. It's simple, but it's just something different. And it just shows a little creativity.
Is that something she decides to do or a coach?
You know, it really depends as she's gearing up for her series there. Oh, and you know, I think she just doubted herself on the landing because she looked pretty square on that back handspring layout step out. And this is exquisite. Look at this front toss. It is, so many people try that front toss. Very few can make it look like Julia Noer, so effortless. And her chest is so up on landing. She gets great height in the air. And this is a cool combo, that beat jump into the switch half. I like that. And gearing up for her dismount here, she does that 1.5.
Meanwhile, Sydney Washington, the freshman, ready for Pitt on floor.
And yeah, again, out of frame, but Julia Noer stuck that dismount.
So Colton and Noer both stick the dismount. Colton with a 9.775 on beam. We will have an exhibition routine from Brianna Greenlow on the beam for Carolina. Washington, the last scored routine on floor for Pitt. Molly Rickey will complete an exhibition for the Panthers once Washington is done.
Well, and her leaps have just been sky high in this routine so far. You know, we often fixate on the tumbling, but the dance elements, those leaps and jumps are just as important. Wow, that is the complete package on floor. had that really powerful tumbling, beautiful leaps, and the performance quality. I mean, she was just drawing the crowd into her routine. Absolutely loved it.
Copperweed's score from right before Washington was a 9.8. So being able to drop the 9.65 from Lauren Beckwith, a very real possibility for Pitt. We'll await the score to come in from nowhere on beam for Carolina. And we'll be able to give you the final score for the Tar Heels this rotation on the beam.
And Brianna Greenlow here in exhibition. She is an athlete who has competed in the lineup. So I think for an athlete like Brianna, it's important for her to kind of keep that competition pace. That's why she is an exhibition. She has plenty of experience on the competition floor, but good for her to continue to get those beam routines out there.
Junior from Swanee, Georgia.
Oh. And looked like she was just a little bit under-rotated on that back handspring layout step out. Nice combination there, though.
This is the exhibition routine on floor we told you about for Molly Rickey.
Good recovery from Greenlow, but not the routine she was looking for.
Nowhere's score it's in. It's a 9.875.
Oh.
So Carolina's score on beam of 49.125. It's the first rotation in which the Tar Heels exceed 49 tonight. And with the beam apparatus complete for all three teams, we have a tie for the individual high tonight. Gillian Noer of North Carolina, as well as Jenna Wheats of Towson, 9.875. Wheats of Towson, Noer of North Carolina will tie for the event crown on beam.
Nice final pass there for Molly Rickey. Just didn't have the power on her middle pass. But, you know, again, it's good for these athletes to get this experience out competing. And you gotta say, UNC coming off that fall in the 2 spot really recovered well. And their athletes, it wasn't perfect. The athletes had some wobbles here and there. But as you mentioned, they were able to fight through it, minimize those deductions, and end with a really nice score.
Sydney Washington's score is in on floor. It's a 9.8. Pitt will record a 48.975 on floor. It's the Panthers' highest score in any rotation tonight, but still below that 49 mark.
And I gotta say, I think Sydney Washington's routine was underscored. I think that should have been in the 9.85, maybe even pushing up to 9.9 range.
Well, 3 rotations in the books. Towson in front, 146.925 for the Tigers. Carolina with a 146.775. Pitt 145.425. 3 rotations done, 1 more to come. Stick with us after this break from Carmichael.
make some noise. It's t-shirt time.
Three down, one to go. Onward to the fourth rotation here from Carmichael Arena in this Eagle tri-meet between Pitt, Towson, and North Carolina. With Christina Chauvenet, I'm Matt Kraus. Well, Christina, we have completed 3 rotations. Towson in the team lead, Carolina right behind, Pitt a little bit further back. Your thoughts so far through 3?
Well, this is a really tight competition between Towson and the University of North Carolina. Just a 10th and a half separating those two teams. So this could be either team's meet tonight. If I had to give an edge, I'd probably give an edge to Carolina on floor because they are performing floor in front of a home crowd. That's where teams love to finish. Towson, they really struggled in their first meet on bars. In 2 weeks ago, they really struggled on bars. Last week came back, had a pretty good rotation, so definitely do not count them out. Pittsburgh, too far back to really enter into winning this competition. But remember, it's all about the national qualifying score. So that's one of the things that's exciting to me about college gymnastics is you're competing against everybody in the country every weekend.
You say Pitt a little too far back to factor into a team win tonight. But what are the positives they can take away from this evening?
Well, I think for me, Pitt really went lights out on their floor rotation, and that's really important coming back from a not ideal beam rotation. And so I think that is something they can be really proud of, and they can go and they can finish on a really strong note here. They have really nice dynamics in their vault. When we talked to Coach Schneider earlier this week, she did say they were working on honing in those landings. Again, trying to minimize those deductions. A lot of the gymnasts in preseason are vaulting into what we call resi surfaces or vaulting into foam pits. So they're not necessarily used to those hard landings they're taking in competition floor. And now is the time to really try and hone those. They have the dynamics, it's about the landings.
So it will be Pitt on vault here, Towson on bars, Carolina on floor, beam already completes. A tie for the individual champion on beam tonight. Jenna Wheats of Towson, Julia Noer of Carolina, both scoring a 9.875 on that particular apparatus.
And I loved both of those routines, so kudos to them. I think the judges got that one right. And we're getting started here with Lauren Keener for Towson.
Keener on bars for the Tigers. Meanwhile, Olivia Miller getting set for Pitt on vaults, and here goes Miller.
Nice Yurchenko full. Really strong start for Towson on bars. You can see Coach Ramirez is stoked about that one.
Jay Ramirez, third-year head coach at his alma mater. Tigers just a 10.5 of a team advantage into this fourth rotation. They have that advantage over North Carolina. Hannah Nam getting things started on floor here for the Tar Heels.
Just a little bit under-rotated on that Rudy, but covered it nicely.
First score of the rotation is in. It's a 9.75 for Miller on the vault for Pitt. Keener's score in on bars, 9.775. Jordan Ewing completes her vault for the Panthers.
And that tucked soup full, valued out of a 9.9 is the start value. Really difficult combination for Hannah Nam on floor, that 1.5 to 1.5. Strong start for the Tar Heels. I love, this is gonna be neck and neck.
Camille Vidoff next on bars for Towson.
Really high Ginger. Lost her, had some leg separation, but really great amplitude.
Stuck the landing.
Wow, no doubt there. The energy in here is so exciting, and this is what I want people to know about college gymnastics. It is, you get that same thrill that you get at a football game, at a basketball game. These athletes, again, the winning does not matter for the NQS, but I can tell you, both these teams want to win.
Hallie Copperwheat vaulting for Pitt. By the way, Ewing a 9.625.
As she makes that Yurchenko full look so easy. That is one of those vaults that I think has the potential to be upgraded to a 1.5.
Waiting on a couple of scores here. Camille Vidoff on bars for Towson. And Anam on floor for Carolina. Meanwhile, Clara Ward ready to vault for Pitt. On floor, Shaylin St. Bryce for the Tar Heels, senior from Mooresville, North Carolina.
Nice chest position on that landing of that first pass.
Clara Hong on bars, the standout freshman for Towson, top right corner of your screen.
Gorgeous piked Jaeger there. You know, didn't get quite the height that I've seen her get before on vault, but overall, nice job. Hong just with that step on the landing, but beautiful to watch on that event. Beautiful to watch on all the events, actually.
All five all-around competitors tonight, all freshmen. We said right off the top, 3 young teams.
And St. Bryce goes out of bounds there on that double pike. You know, she was struggling with it in warm-ups, was landing it a little bit short, and I think what happened was she just overcompensated, overcooked it, and had to take that step out of bounds.
Couple of scores for you. Hallie Copperweed, a 9.825 on her vault for Pitt. Camille Vidoff, a 9.825 on bars for Towson. Clara Ward, a 9.675 for her Pitt vault.
And it's Sierra Ward, but yeah, really nice vault for her. Just like I said, I've seen her get some bigger dynamics.
Katie Chamberlain now.
And again, another nice Yurchenko full. They're not honing the landings, I think, probably quite like they would want to, but I'd much rather see that at this point in the season than them trying to go for things that they're not capable of and coming in short on landings.
Grace Valancourt next on bars for Towson. Hong's score is in, it's a 9.775.
Oh, and couldn't quite hang on to that stuck dismount. You know, when we are talking about these stuck dismounts, you really have to show no movement with feet, no movement in your torso. You shouldn't be off balance on landing, and she almost had it, couldn't quite hold on to it, but really nice routine.
Sydney Washington to vaults for Pitt. Final competitor of the night for the Panthers.
And she has, I talked about her power on floor, she has a huge Yurchenko full. Look at the height she got off the table. That's what you want to see. And in my opinion, judges are not deducting enough for height, and that punishes an athlete like her. Great double pike to start there for Brianna Greenlow.
Get you cut up on floor scores here for Carolina. It's a 9.8 for Nam. Still awaiting St. Bryce's score. Over on vault, a 9.7 for Chamberlain of Pitt.
Shy of split there in her dance series. Gearing up for that final pass. Check this out. Punch front, 2.5. Very difficult combination.
Amanda Petticelli on bars for Towson.
And did a really nice job with that ray, but lost her form in the pack salto, that transition to low bar.
So she started her routine on the higher bar. What are the benefits, what are the hindrances of doing that?
You know, there's not really a benefit or a hindrance. It's really about your routine construction and where you're gonna do your release moves. Nice final pass for Brianna Greenlow.
St. Bryce's score in from the previous floor exercise for the Tar Heels, a 9.55. Over on bars, Grace Valancourt, a 9.85. And we'll get you Sydney Washington's vault score here for Pitt. That's a 9.875.
And I'm so glad to see her awarded on that. What I was saying about that is I don't think judges take enough deductions on amplitude, and I'm glad to see them rewarded because that really is special.
So a 48.825 for Pitt on vaults. That's their second highest score of any rotation tonight, behind only the 49.025 on floor. Pitt's final score for the evening will be a 194.3.
Yeah, and so, you know, it's not what they really, it's not that big number that they wanted to push through, but at the same time, coming from where they came on beam, having that difficult rotation, they had two great rotations to close, and, you know, scores, you don't want to have to count a 194 for your NQS, but you can if you have to. Really, these teams do not want to be counting any score in the 193s, so I think they can be really proud of how they finished that meet. This meet, rather.
Every competitor is done on the vaults. And as Lali Dekanoidze steps on the floor for the Tar Heels, it's the perfect time to tell you that she is the individual champion on vault tonight with her 9.9. So Dekanoidze taking top honors on vault for the Tar Heels. And that 9.9, a career high for Lali. Over on bars, Steph Makasu for Towson.
Really nice back salto there. And good control on that double back for Lolly. You know, took that step on landing, but otherwise really strong routine, difficult releases for Makasu on bars.
So Makasu, the freshman, completes her routine there. Petticelli a 9.65 prior to her. Sarah Giroux, Indianapolis, Indiana sophomore, will complete an exhibition routine over there on bars.
Wow. Lolly Dekanoitsa, have yourself a night. I run out of superlatives when I talk about her. She's so exciting in college gymnastics. What I love about her gymnastics is she's so composed. She doesn't have the most difficult gymnastics being done in college, exception of vault. She's got a very difficult vault, but she has really nice technique. You see her landing all of those passes with her chest up, taking those controlled steps, really minimizing the deductions.
Well, if she's only a freshman, you've run out of superlatives. I think we need to get you a thesaurus.
I
Is that
might.
what you're saying?
Yeah, or I'm going to have to get a new job.
We'll keep you around. Makasu's score is in on bars for Towson. It's a 9.825. Towson's team score of 49.05.
Wow. Huge dismount there, a full twisting double back. Towson ended this meet really well.
The 49.05 marks Towson's third rotation of 4 over 49. They will finish the meet with a 195.975. Agonizingly close to the 196, but still a great night for Jay Ramirez and his team.
I mean, I can tell you, knowing Jay Ramirez, when I talk to him after the meet, he'll be telling me where they could have picked up tenths. They should have done that better. And that is what that's why I think this program is one to watch, because he wants more. He wants more performance. He thinks of things that they could have done better, and but he's also at the same time so supportive of his athletes. And yeah, new season high for them. So whether they win this meet or not, huge road score for them.
On floor here for the Tar Heels, it's Elizabeth Colton, the All-American.
Nice control on that double back.
Two scores in, Christina, both 9.825s for Brianna Greenlow and Lolly Dekanoitsa. So Carolina on pace to drop the 9.55 for St. Bryce.
Oh, and Elizabeth Colton, seasoned competitor, just was going to go out of bounds, but managed to stay in.
With Towson's 49.05 on bars, Carolina would need a 49.2 in this rotation on floor to match the Tigers for the team high score of the meet. Doable?
That's a pretty high score. I don't think that's within reach for Carolina at this point. Really nice front layout to 1.5 there. And Elizabeth Colton, beautiful to watch on this event. Her toe point is exquisite. Really handled that. You know, the second pass, she really should have gone out of bounds, but managed to keep it in bounds.
So Colton completes her floor exercise. Some good news for her tonight. She and Towson's Grace Valancourt have matched for the individual high on bars tonight with a 9.85. With that apparatus complete, the final scored routine of the night, Julia Noer, the freshman, ready on floor for the Tar Heels.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Lolly Dekanoitsa, coming in with that 9.8, what did you say it was? 9.825. Yep. I think that was a little underscored. I have disagreed with a number of the judges' scores tonight, and I'll have to go back and rewatch this meet, but I think that should have gotten a higher score compared to what we saw from Greenlow.
Both identical 9.825s.
And you see the Carolina gymnasts taping those mats. These, we call them sting mats. They are obviously allowed in college gymnastics. And that just helps gymnasts absorb some of those landings, makes it a little bit softer. But they do have to tape down where the out of bounds line is, so the judges will still deduct if they go out of bounds.
Taping completes. Noer ready. We can tell you it's a third straight 9.825 for Colton.
Nice control on that combination pass. Wow. And huge routine for Julia Noer. You can see that she is stoked about that one, as she should be.
So we'll wait the score from Noer. Jay Weil will complete an exhibition routine here. And that'll be the last competition of the night.
And I just did some napkin math. I believe Julia Noer would have to score a 9.925 in order for them to clinch the victory. I do not think that routine will be scored that high, but we'll see here.
We'll wait the score popping up on the monitor down below.
And this is really exciting, folks, bringing you this. I do see one judge flashing a 9.9. Let's see what the other one does. And it's a 9.9 for Julia Noer.
9.9 for Noer on floor.
And yeah, University of North Carolina, my napkin math was right, comes up just a quarter tenth short of Towson. Towson wins the meet. What a nail biter.
Dramatic, dramatic finish. The final team score for the Tar Heels tonight is a 195.950. Jay Weil completing the exhibition routine with the final floor exercise that was scored complete. It's Noer saving the best for last. Her 9.9 is the individual high on floor. And our all-around winner tonight, Lali Dekanoidze with a 39-4 for the Tar Heels. So Dekanoidze wins the all-around, as well as the vault with her 9.9. Bars, Colton of Carolina, Valancourt of Towson, tie with a 9.85. Beam, it's a 9.875 tie for Wheats and Noer.
And love that ending for Jay Weil. I think that's the best routine I've ever seen her do. Good for her to complete that in that exhibition spot. We talked about at the top of the meet how tight the Eagle Gymnastics is. You see that here. I mean, you can't ask for a closer finish than that. A quarter of a tenth. Remember, in college gymnastics, the smallest deduction you can take is a half a tenth. So that's the difference between those two teams was smaller than the smallest deduction that a judge can take.
195.975 for Towson, 195.950 for Carolina, and a 194.3 for Pitt here tonight. What a thrilling tri-meet tonight at Carmichael. As we said, it is smaller than the margin of one deduction, but Towson prevails here tonight in this tri-meet. Christina, your takeaways from this one?
Well, you know, I think that for Towson, obviously, Towson comes out of this meet feeling the best. They've got a new season high. They came, as you said, painstakingly close to that 196, but it's pretty darn close. And I think they can feel really good. They've come off of 2 solid road meets in a row. So they have that really good momentum. North Carolina didn't quite hit the scoring threshold that they hit last week when they were at home, but at the same time, they almost broke 196. I think it's really important. This meet did not go perfectly for them. You know, we saw they had a fall on beam. There were some hesitations here and there. Their vault landings were not as in control as I've seen for them, but they still managed a really good score, and I think that bodes really well for Carolina Gymnastics. For Pitt, you know, a little bit of a mixed bag. They really struggled on beam, and I think also they had some underscoring issues, in my opinion, but they struggled on beam, but really closed the meet super strongly with those vault and floor performances. So I think that they can go away happy. They've got some stuff to build on.
It is a season high for Towson, as Christina said. Carolina falls just short of the season high that they recorded last week, the 196.425. And as for Pitt's, it's not the 195.575 they recorded last week against Texas Women's, but it's much better than the 192.9 from that first meet of the season for Pitt. So for North Carolina, it's off to Tuscaloosa, Alabama next week, next Friday night, as the Tar Heels will compete against Alabama and Western Michigan in a tri-meet. Pitt's next action at home next Sunday, February the 6th. They'll welcome Eagle foe NC State, as well as nearby opponent West Virginia, and a team that has to travel much further than Morgantown to Pittsburgh, Alaska, making the trip to the Steel City next Sunday at 2 o'clock.
And Alaska was not able to compete last season. Absolutely thrilled to see them competing, making the trip.
As for Towson, their next action comes up on the 2nd of February, as they will welcome in William and Mary and George Washington. So that is a little midweek action on Wednesday, February the 2nd. William and Mary, George Washington, 6 o'clock start for that one at home for Towson. So the Tigers win it tonight, 195.975, narrowest of margins over North Carolina, 195.95, and Pitt, 194.3. For Christina Chauvenet and our terrific crew here in Chapel Hill, I'm Matt Krause. Thanks so much for joining us on this Friday evening. You've been watching College Gymnastics. Farewell.